Okay, today in class, we read the personal narrative essay, My 8-Cow Necklace. Okay, so if you could, you'll need that essay out. So just go ahead and get that out of your writing folder. And you should have some things already highlighted and marked on that essay, because today in class, what we were looking for were the elements of a personal narrative in this essay. Okay. So now what we're going to do is start looking at the specific writing techniques that's used in the essay. So now you're going to hear the essay read aloud. Today you read it silently in your group, but now you're going to hear it read aloud. And as I read the essay, what I'd like you to do is, with a pen or a pencil, is I want you to underline strong emotional words or phrases. These are words that evoke some sort of emotion in the speaker. Okay? So again, go ahead and get that essay out if you don't have it already. Okay, so pull it up. Here it is. Okay? If you need to pause the video to go find the essay, that's fine. Once you have it, go ahead and hit play. And then again, I'm going to read the essay to you. And as you're hearing it, I want you to underline these strong emotional words and phrases. Okay. My 8-cow bracelet. Beauty is only skin deep was a phrase I heard quite often during my awkward childhood. When I was a baby, I had 2 chins, Michelin tire legs, and hair that stuck straight up even though it was easily over 2 inches long. My mom would often dress me in only a diaper on hot days, inspiring my uncle to label me with the name of Marshmallow Butt. It was a name he was quite fond of calling me, even years later. As I grew, the double chin turned into 1.5, and the legs stretched into colonial columns, and the hair eventually lay flat. This all happened just in time for puberty, acne, and my first training bra when I was only 10. It was during this transitional point in my life that my father began to teach me a valuable and significant lesson regarding beauty and the power of words. During my childhood, my family indulged in a weekly ritual we called family night. We used this time for various activities. We would hold family councils where we truly believed we had a say in important subjects. We would play games and have lessons such as being kind to your family, or some other moral issue of the time. Sometimes we would sing songs, hear stories from Dad who could rival Mark Twain any day, or spend an hour or two eating ice cream and playing at the park. I am the second child and the oldest daughter in a family of 10 children. So these weekly get-togethers rarely went without some type of fiasco. These fiascos varied from kicking at one another as Mom was teaching us about doing unto others, or my older brother Bill and I having a hair-pulling fight, not just a tug of the hair fight, but a fistful, pull as hard as you can, you let go first, hair fight. It was for one of these activities that my dad brought home a movie entitled Johnny Lingo. The story was simple. But for a shy 10-year-old girl who had long, stringy brown hair, big brown eyes, a freckled face, and who looked as though the Pillsbury Doughboy was her closest relative, it was a story filled with magic and hope. The movie told of a girl named Mohana. Mohana was, quite frankly, the ugliest girl on the island. She was all skin and bone. She rarely washed her hair and never combed it. She spent all her time hiding in the woods so no one could see her and make fun of her. Even her father called her, Mohana, you ugly. One day, the most handsome young man in the area, Johnny Lingo, came to the island and chose Mohana for his wife. He gave her father 8 cows as a gift in exchange for Mohana. No one had ever given more than 4 cows as a gift for marriage. This was a great demonstration of devotion and love towards Mohana. A year later, when Johnny and Mohana returned to the island, Mohana's father came to visit them. He hardly recognized his daughter. She now had long, shining, beautifully combed hair. She had put on some weight, and even her personality had developed some self-assurance and confidence. Johnny Lingo told Mohana's father that he bought her a silver and pearl inlaid mirror and comb set, and told her every day that she was beautiful. He said that Mohana had always had the beauty inside her. He just helped her discover it. It wasn't until a few years later that I realized the significance of that movie and the lesson that my father was trying to teach me. We lived in a rural town where work was very hard for my dad to find. Consequently, he had to leave home to work. I was just finishing my hardest year in high school, the sophomore year, when my dad took a job in Page, Arizona. I turned 16 that summer. That was also the summer that I received my 8-cow bracelet. Dad was a man who always had a ready smile on his face. For as long as I have known him, he had crow's feet at the corner of his eyes from smiling. His hands always seemed big and strong to me, and as he got older, I began to see where I got my physical attributes. He always loved working early in the morning out in the garden when the dew was still on the leaves of the tomatoes and peas. I enjoyed going out there with him. It was a time when we could spend some quality moments together. He would teach me which bugs were not good for the garden as we cleared plump green tomato worms off the tomato plants. He taught me which insects we needed in the garden as we left the spider webs strung between the corn stalks. I learned about rainbows. I learned about life. One particular August morning, Dad took me to sit down at our wood pile. There was always 2 or 3 stumps to sit on, and Dad would sit there and watch the garden as he irrigated. He pulled a small bundle wrapped in one of his red farmer handkerchiefs out of his pocket. He simply opened up the cloth to expose a turquoise and silver Indian cuff bracelet. It was slender, no more than a ½ inch in width. The silver had no engravings on it. It was simple and delicate. Centered across the top of the bracelet were 8 round turquoise stones set into the silver. Dad asked me, "Do you know what this is?" I looked at him and smiled. "A bracelet?" His ready smile came back at me. "This is your 8-cow bracelet." When I must have given him one of my most confused looks, he explained how the bracelet would remind me of my worth. I was worth more than anyone else was on the island. I had an inner beauty that was just waiting to come out, and I was important to him. At that time, I couldn't remember ever loving my father more. A lifetime again later, I still remember that day. I remember the sun beating down on my head, the smell of wet dirt, the sound of our water pump whirring softly as the family inside the house started getting ready for the day. I remember the love in my father's eyes, and I know that I am an 8-cow woman. Okay, so hopefully as you were listening to the essay, you were able to find several words and phrases that do evoke a strong emotion, okay? If you need to go back, go ahead and you can go back on your own and reread maybe some sections that you weren't sure about, okay? So tomorrow in class, be prepared to share some of the things that you underlined with the rest of the class. Okay, see you then.